I don't know why, but like, I'm nervous when I start the videos, and it's really weird. I think the demonic realm is just trying to do a good job keeping me sidetracked so I don't work on ministry. I've been praying about that a lot lately, and I've been making a lot of progress. It's tricky. Like even now I can feel pressure. But I love you guys, and I want you to know God, and I'm starting to learn how to deal with that pressure. It's not might, it's not spiritual power. You just use what we've been learning here, how they say it, chutzpah. I really need to make sure I'm pronouncing that word correctly, but basically your spiritual kung fu, your spiritual excellence. Before I get started, I'm gonna go and see how much free space I have on my phone so I don't lose the video file and have to start over. Okay, plenty of storage. Proverbs 17, verse 1. Better a dry crust with peace than a house full of feasting with strife. And so that makes sense. It's better, to be like a hobbit. You have humble means. You don't have the full fancy stuff. You don't have the fancy clothing. You don't have the fancy cars. But man, you've got your family and your friends there. And I'm from Hollywood. I've seen that. I've seen the rich, especially with my gift of discernment and knowledge. I see how empty-hearted a lot of people with wealth are. And this doesn't mean I'm trying to put blame on them or say they're doing something wrong. But I'm saying it's wise to know where meaning comes from. Meaning comes from your connection to the center of the universe, which is your connection to heaven, which is your connection to God and to Christ. And so it's good to pray every day to keep us there, to know that love is good, joy is good, peace is good. And when you see people start to move away and think drugs is good, limitless, rambunctious sex is good. The apostle, I believe it's Apostle Paul, who says, like, don't become lecherous, don't become a gambler, don't become an alcoholic, don't spend your time being promiscuous. He uses the word like orgies. He's like, guys, like, because he has to start reining in the other cultures and saying, like, guys, we don't do this anymore. Like, we believe in the Christ, we believe in the Jesus, we believe that we've seen the miracles. And that's important too. It's not that, the Bible says Jesus is real. It's God came to earth, boom. Suddenly, people are being healed from the dead. People are being healed of blindness. People are being healed of everything. Limbs are regrowing. Evil spirits are being ejected just everywhere. There was one time Jesus prayed over 4,000 people and healed all of them. And then he said, you're going to do bigger things than this. And that's where wealth comes from. Spiritual wealth is more important than everything else. It's the true wealth. The things you do on earth that are good, the things you do on earth for heaven, these things matter, and these things produce emotional resource. It produces emotional wealth. It produces loving wealth. It helps keep you calm because you're tied into God's Holy Spirit. You're under control. You're calm. That gives you control. That lets you get those promotions. That lets you be smart about how you spend your resources, so you can develop savings. So life doesn't get away from you. All the kids you have are with one woman, so you have one family. You don't owe a lot of alimony. You're not paying for all these other lives. You're more interested in building quality. So yeah, that's what it's saying. Better to be like a hobbit and have wonderful times of food and friendships, and that's what they say. I believe that's why the hobbits in Lord of the Rings could resist the power more, is they valued friendship and food. Like good times with their buddies, and I respect that. One time we were trying to take all my friends out to dinner, and me and my buddy said, let's just cook. And so we looked up some really good Alfredo sauce recipes. We actually You can find the recipes that a lot of restaurants use. And we made it, and we fed 8 people 3 servings each of fettuccine alfredo for $40. It's cooking is so much cheaper, and you can do that. And usually, like, you'll think some people get really upset, or they go, oh, like this is such a poor way to live. But when they find out, they stop. They're like, oh wow. I used to get made fun of for being fat or being really silly. Like, Josh, you're not gonna meet girls, being overweight or acting like you do, or and I said, dude, I've dated way more people than you have. And he stopped and he went, oh, my mistake. Yeah. Anyways, verse 2. A prudent servant will rule over a disgraceful son and share an inheritance among brothers. So a servant is kind of like the minimum wage employee, but a really good one, right? A really good one who's running, the company really well, or running the farms really well. The disgraceful son comes up and says, oh, you're going to do this, you're going to do that. And the prudent servant will say, no, like, I've established, if I do that, your dad's going to fire me. Or the company, the company head. And that's true, the prudent servant. And a lot of times, kind of in the storytelling style of it, the servant is often kind of a nobody. But you work hard and you do a good job, and the guy in charge notices, and then you're put in charge more. What does it say? Those who have some will be given more. If you can be trusted with some, you'll be trusted with more. And this is true. At my job, I have a job where I have to move like a lot of boxes all day, but I'm left alone. Nobody bothers me. If I want to stop and get a drink, if I want to stop and chit chat for a little bit, as long as I keep working. And because I keep working, and because I make sure other people work, they let me do this job. I show up and they say, oh, you're here. Yeah, go. I'm like, cool. So yeah. A crucible for silver and a smelter for gold, and the Lord is the tester of heart. So the crucible, what is a crucible? Hang on, I'll be right back. Okay, so a crucible for silver is a container that holds the silver while you melt it to purify it and get all the little imperfections out, all the things that aren't silver. And a gold is put into a furnace, which is also called a smelter. Yeah, crucible for silver, a smelter for gold. So the crucible is the container, and the smelter is a furnace for gold. And the Lord is the tester of hearts. That's a really good one. So when the Bible talks about purification, that's what it's talking about. You're getting all the other metals out, all the gunk out. You're making it pure. You're making it a richer, better, more high quality element. And so there's just kind of a good news statement. Like, we're happy with that, because if you want to work in the supernatural, or you want to pray for God to do the things you ask, or you want to work with God to establish your plans or your dreams, this is part of that process. And we're happy to have it because it makes us richer as well. Oh, I'm so tired. Okay. A wicked person listens to malicious talk. A liar pays attention to a destructive tongue. A wicked person listens to malicious talk. So a wicked person takes bad conversation and is going to help spread it or magnify it. It's going to take it in when really you should ignore people who are just malicious, who are kind of just mean for the fun of it. A liar pays attention to a destructive tongue. Yeah, the same way somebody who enjoys lying is going to enjoy seeing how other things go wrong. So that's also not good. The one who mocks the poor insults his maker. So you don't want to make fun of the poor because they need help. A lot of poor need help with God, so they find their calling. A lot of poor need help getting back on their feet, so they need help by people who are strong, and people who are godly are often strong. And then a lot of poor are like mentally ill or physically ill from like drug use, and they need people from God who can heal them with God's supernatural power or rebuke the demonic attachments through supernatural power. So the one who mocks the poor insults his maker, insults God himself. So make sure you're not doing that just because it seems like a lot of fun. And the one who rejoices over calamity, so things that go wrong, disaster, will not go unpunished. So you don't want to be that person. That's bad for society, that's bad for your family, that's bad manners, it's bad for you. Grandchildren are the crown of the elderly. Well, that's cool. I mean, it makes sense. Like, who doesn't love little excited children? And the pride of the children is their fathers. So in the same way you can say parents. But this is kind of a trick Bible verse. It's saying like, you're their pride and joy. So make sure you live up to God's godliness, because you don't want your kids discovering you're cheating on their wife, on your wife. You don't want your kids to discover you have all these drug habits. And that doesn't mean hide them. That means we want to work with God through prayer and work with other people who are godly, who can help you work past it. Eloquent words are not appropriate on a fool's lips. So some loser who's always stealing or bringing people down for fun, creating problems for fun, creating drama for fun, creating gossip. So when they try to become eloquent, it's like, stop trying to pretend that you care about good and rich things when all you're interested in is watching the world burn. How much worse are lies for a ruler? So as you become a king, as you become master of your household, lies are bad also. So eloquent words aren't good on a fool's lip. As you become master of your household, you shouldn't be a liar. So you need to make sure you're watching over that. A bribe, I need a second. Okay. A bribe seems like a magic stone to its owner. Wherever he turns, he succeeds. It's interesting that it doesn't tell you. Oh yeah, because we've moved into the part of Proverbs now where it's like you're kind of supposed to get it, right? So now we're talking to the great men versus the really great men. We're no longer from like, this is evil, this is good. It's like, this is basic, this is great, this is good, this is best. So we're moving from better to better to better, right? We haven't stopped moving towards God who's perfect. And these are good because no matter where your life is, if you're someone who's kind of competitive, you can keep elevating your life and, where you stand with heaven. And I don't mean like, because God loves all of his children infinitely, but by all means, like if you're competitive, the goal is to compete and see what you can kind of get out of it. Can I win this? Can I win that? Can I win this? Can I win that? So a bribe seems like a magic stone to its owner. Wherever he turns, he succeeds. Don't bribe. Because we're not working with God anymore. We're working with gambling at how long we can get away with something. Whoever conceals an offense promotes love, but whoever gossips about it separates friends. So this happens, like, sometimes my friends will have bad days and they act really inappropriate or really mean or they really hurt my feelings. But you know what? My life's good. I own some video games. I'm having a lot of visions about my future wife. I'm working in ministry, and even my friends are having visions now. My friends are healing people. And so that's worth not being bothered about the offenses. You know, I'll be at work and sometimes people will scream at me, and then I'll just keep talking normally, and then everyone will look and say like, wow, Josh, you're really calm. That's really mature. And I'll say, yeah, thank you. But whoever gossips about it separates friends. And that's true. A lot of people want attention. So instead of asking for love or working with heaven to get love, they gossip, and it just causes strife, and then friend groups break up. Okay. I think the demons are all angry because we're getting close to Christmas. A rebuke cuts into a perceptive person more than 100 lashes into a fool. So a rebuke isn't just saying no. It's kind of like a rejection. When the disciples were all given the 9 gifts of the Holy Spirit from Jesus, one of them said, hey, everyone's come up to stop us from preaching. Should we call down fire from the sky and kill them all? And Jesus rebuked them and said, no, absolutely not. When Peter said to Jesus, don't die, Jesus says, get behind me, opposer. Because he loved Jesus, and he was calling out in this like intimate voice, like, please, my friend, my teacher and my friend, like, we don't want you to die, because you're so beautiful and so pure and so perfect. And even Jesus was struggling with this. He said, please, Lord, don't make me drink from this cup, but if it is your will, I surely will. And then he started like sweating blood, because he was so like, this is it. I have to do this. This is what I'm here for. Oh yeah, so a rebuke can hurt. I've had to sit some of my friends down and say, hey, you're not acting very appropriate. You need to chill out. You need to relax. And they took it very well, but it is hard to do. I've had to tell friends like, hey, let's not break up with your wife. I've had to tell other friends, you need to stop being an alcoholic. You need to stop being a drunk, and need to stop doing drugs, because it's not going to take you anywhere. So they're saying, the Bible's saying, if someone legitimate gives you a rebuke, someone you care about and trust, it's a good thing that you take it so seriously. My friend's grandpa said, hey, what's the plan for your life? You're 30 years old, working at a movie theater for $7 an hour. Like, go learn a trade or go get a good job. And I immediately thought, yeah, okay, I'm gonna go back to school. An evil person desires only rebellion. A cruel messenger will be set against him. What does that mean? Go back. Sometimes ChatGPT really brings out the answers. So an evil person desires only rebellion. And what ChatGPT said was that someone who's really into rebellion and causing strife and stirring up trouble has a hardened heart. And so the consequences, like SWAT coming at you or the police coming at you, is going to be a big repercussion. So be careful, because the repercussion is going to be catastrophic. And that always happens too. They're always so surprised that they got caught. I had a friend at work, and he wore an ankle monitor, and I said, "Hey, can I ask?" And he said, "Yeah, I used to run a crew. I think they sold a lot of drugs." And he said, "I was making a lot of money. Everything was perfect. And then one of my lieutenants turned on me and snitched to the police, and I got caught. And everything was running so perfect, I never saw it coming." And I'm just saying, that's always the answer. It's always the answer, is you never saw it coming. And you know what's interesting? Another friend of mine at work, he has a friend that sells drugs. And he's like, "Man, he makes so much money." And I stopped him and I said, wait. No. You're not getting away like that. You're too smart to just wishful think that you could be a part of that. And so I broke it down and I said, "Okay, how many hours a week do you think he's working? How often is he like walking around trying to sell product or selling product?" And so we started doing all the math. And after we did all the math with how much his friend was working and how much he made, we discovered his friend made like $14.50 an hour. That's not worth it. See, normally when you do a job, you get better and better and better at it, and you make more and more and more money. There is a show by Regina Jones. She's an actress, and she wanted to kind of explain why the porn industry isn't very good. And because a lot of people see the money and they want the money. This is a real big problem in America right now in 2025. And one girl said, "Oh yeah, I don't want to be a teacher because they only make like 40 to 60,000 a year, and I make about 100, 120 a year." But later on in that episode, she said she was working 100 hours a week. And I said, for $100 a week or 100 hours a week, you're not making very much more money. The things you do, art, painting, writing music, doing your career, the more you put yourself into it, the more you get paid. The more you learn as a doctor, the more you learn as an engineer, there's a lot of options in life. And even with like Starbucks or other careers, a lot of people get angry. "Oh, there's no money." I'll say, well, first of all, stop eating out so much. Second of all, if you're going to work at Starbucks, the moment you get hired, you got to go up to your boss and say, "Hey, what do I got to do to be a supervisor?" "Oh, well, show up on time, help. We'll talk to the managers, let them know you're interested." "Okay, I want to be a supervisor." And then you become a supervisor, then become a manager, then become a district manager, and those are all pay increases. At my job, I make $25 an hour. And a couple of my friends, these girls, they got hired. And they said, "I want to be a supervisor." And I said, "All right, let's sit down." I showed them how to interview. I'm very good at interviewing. I'm very good at managing. I have 25 years of management experience. I taught them how to deal with angry employees and nice employees, and how to be pushy when managers try to bully you, how to be politely pushy back. And then within 3 months, they got a promotion, and now they're making $27, $28 an hour. Just not even a year at this new job, and they're making like $27 an hour. Better for a person to meet a bear, robbed of her cubs, than a fool in his foolishness. Wow. What does Owen Wilson say? Wow. Better a person to meet a bear robbed of her cubs, angry mama, than a fool in his foolishness. And that is so true. Just, oh my goodness. So true. I thought, for example, I want to give a better story. Fools are very dangerous. And you see that a lot now when you're watching all the debates online. A lot of people aren't actually arguing intellectually. They're arguing socially and they're just arguing nonsense. And you'll see that a lot on news channels too. They're not trying to argue that we find the good or the merit or what's true. They argue to try and belittle their opponent and not ever go anywhere because they want that money, because they're bad at making money. So if you can't make money, you sell drugs, alcohol, scandal, and sex, because you don't need a lot of talent to sell those. And let me make something very, very clear. Whatever your dreams are, work on them with heaven. All right, because the world needs the love that you bring, even if there's a lot of love already. I was starting a podcast and someone said, "Oh, that's just what we need, another podcast." It's like, yeah, I'm awesome, okay? And I have interesting things to say. And maybe I only have 100,000 fans. But damn, that'd be cool to have 100,000 fans. That's not small. That is awesome. A guy was playing his saxophone online. He had 1,000 people streaming. That's amazing. That's so amazing. Orange juice. If anyone returns evil for good, evil will never depart from his house. When someone does a good thing, don't repay that with badness. I had this friend that I knew this coworker, and we almost got into such a bad fight. Like, I almost got fired over it. And I have this rule, right? I play life on hard mode. I play it on difficult mode. I don't try to get my revenge. So I want to see if we can do it God's way. See if we can do it the most difficult way and see if it becomes the easiest way. Every time I saw him at work, I prayed for him. Oh man, I was so mad when he was yelling at me. Like, ooh, I thought he was going to fight me. And, you know, it's at work. If someone fights you at work, you might lose your job no matter what. You can't hope that work always moves things your way. Every time I saw him, I prayed for him. Every single time I saw him, I prayed for him. Because, right, Leonard Nimoy says that Leonard Nimoy quotes Abraham Lincoln in Civilization 4, the video game, and says, "When I have made my enemy my friend, I've truly won." And Uzumaki Naruto, right, the 7th leader of the Konoha village, he's the same way. He tries to make his enemies his friends. Because otherwise there will always be war. Anyways. So I prayed for him. And then one time I walked up and I said, "Hey, you know, I'm at my job, brought you this work. If this is okay, if it's not, let me know." And he did this triple take. He went, what? Like, the first one is what? Like, what did you say? And then he started to go back to work. He went, "Whoa, wait, like, you're that guy I almost fought with." And then he started to go back because he was in the routine. And he's like, "Whoa, you really?" And I was completely calm and sweet. And he's like, "Oh, yeah, that's fine." I said, "Okay, you know, and if it's not, just let me know. We got some more work coming." He's like, "Yeah, okay." And I was leaving work one time and I said, "Hey, God, I see him there clocking out. If you need me to, I'll do whatever you ask." So he knows there's like no hard feelings. So he knows everything's good, because I want him to know your love, because I like playing life on hard mode. It's like a video game played on the most difficult setting, so that way you get the coolest rewards and treasures. And I hear the Holy Spirit say, "Okay, but you're going to be late getting home." Okay. And I had something in my pocket, and so the metal detector went off. And so I had to go through a second one, and I was putting on my shoes, and I ended up sitting next to him, and I was totally chill. I was like, do. And I was like, okay, so I bet God right now is telling him, like, see how Joshua's calm and chill? He holds no ill will towards you at all. He's a man after my own spirit. And then I got home like 15 minutes late, and I like looked up at heaven, and I said, "That's getting home late, 15 minutes? That was nothing. That wasn't even a problem." To start a conflict is to release a flood. Now, the Bible's talking about a flood because there was a flood before, so it's devastation. To just randomly pick fights releases a flood. It's just catastrophe. Stop the dispute before it breaks out. Now, this is really important. A lot of people don't like to do this, but I do this. So one time at work, someone screamed at me. They thought I was calling him a girl, and he just lost it and oh my gosh. And the managers didn't help, and I stopped myself from getting angry. I talked to him. Same thing, I prayed for him a lot, and now we're friends. What's another time? I've said that other story a lot. Oh, one time they asked if I was done with my work for the day, and I said, yeah. And this manager, she was another manager, not mine, screamed at me. She screamed so loud, you would have thought I set her house on fire. Like, she just screamed, why weren't you answering? We were calling you. Ah! And I'm half Mexican, so the Mexican in me started to take over, like I gotta fight, I gotta be a smart ass, I gotta like cut her down verbally, and I was ready. I was like, and then I told myself, Joshua, you're gonna shut your teeth, and you're not gonna talk for 5 minutes. And no matter what happens, if you don't talk for 5 minutes, the anger will leave. You won't have said anything stupid. You won't have started a fight with a manager, and you will still have your job tomorrow, because you don't like job hunting. Job hunting is annoying, and job hunting is boring. And so that's what you're going to do. You're just going to stand there and clench your mouth. And so I went, like my like neck muscles really moving, and she walked away, and then other people walked by and they said like, are you okay? And I just stood there and I said nothing. And other people walked by because I was just standing there, like I had work to do. I could have gotten in trouble for not getting work, but I had to stop because I needed to not lose control. And then the anger faded, and I said, hey, look, who's got a job tomorrow? Look at that. That's how this is supposed to work. My supervisor said, are you okay? Do you want me to report her? And I said, maybe her dog died. Maybe she got divorced. Maybe your boyfriend cheated on her. Everyone gets one. Verse 15. Let me make a new file. Okay. But yeah, so especially if you grew up in a gang-rich environment or you come from poverty, it's one of the most important skills to have to be able to stop fights from breaking out. Because it also shows everyone at the top that you can handle everything, that you are someone in control, that you'd rather make the situation work for you than work towards what's commonly accepted as the best path, right? Because in like gang culture, thugging up is kind of normal. The call for respect is kind of normal. But when you're out of that culture, you need to be able to be calm when things aren't calm. Every different culture has its own kind of social rules. And when I moved to Tyler, I learned that there was a culture at the top with the rich. And it was a lot less complicated than I thought. It was, don't get a job based on your dreams, get a job that pays you a lot of money, and then use your free time to do your dreams. So if your dreams are travel or art, if you go to school specifically for a job that makes a lot of money, you will then have money to follow your dreams. And so that was good to know, good to learn. Acquitting the guilty and condemning the just, both are detestable to the Lord. That's happening a lot in America right now. Yeah, so that's a big no-no. Because justice is the combination of wisdom, right, which is haksva, which is spiritual and social craftsmanship, and peace. And we all know what peace is. Why does a fool have money in his hand with no intention of buying wisdom? That's really good. What do they say? A fool and his money are soon parted. So an unwise fool, you have to be careful, because where is he getting that money? Is he getting it from doing something illegal? Because you don't want to get caught up in that. There's a lot of protection in being righteous. You're safe from a lot of problems that life has. I'm not promiscuous. I don't have sex with a bunch of different people. This protects me from a lot of STDs. I don't commit crime, this keeps me protected from the law. I work with heaven. This helps make me wise and helps me find opportunities in life to help promote my life and my future families. A friend loves at all times, this is very true, and a brother is born for a difficult time. What? I have to look that one up. Okay, wow, this is really good. Okay, so it's saying two great things. A friend loves at all times. So a friend is there when you need them. And then a brother, basically saying a brother is somebody who's brotherly reveals themselves during difficult times. So like when things are really bad, the person who shows up is like a brother. And so it's saying these are two great things. One without sense enters an agreement and puts up security for his friend. This one I had to look up a lot because I bet it's using the word neighbor. Let me double check. Yeah, okay, so the first one does use the word friend. The Bible translates it to friend for verse 18, but what it's saying is neighbor. So neighbor is somebody who's sometimes like Christian and sometimes not. They're not always Christian, but it's somebody who's on your side, somebody who's got your back, somebody who will watch over you. The story of the Good Samaritan is a story of what a neighbor is. You're left for dead, you got beaten up, and the pastors don't help you, and the priests don't help you, and the police don't help you, and nobody helps you, but this person who, maybe maybe they don't worship God. Maybe they're a Buddhist or believe in Krishna or something. That's what a neighbor is. So it's definitely a good guy in this story right here. But it's saying it's bad to just sign a car loan for someone that you're not scrupulous over. Like, you don't know how they're paying their bills, you don't know what kind of situation they're in, you don't know what's going on. You don't want to sign for their house or sign for their car, because then they could be really lazy and now you're out a lot of money because you have to pay for it because you did that. The Bible is actually telling you don't do that. And that's important because a lot of times people think the Bible is just saying, oh, be the good guy, be the good guy, be the good guy. And the Bible is not saying that. The Bible is saying be godlike and be smart and wise. Be smart and understanding, be righteous and good. And a lot of times it's say no. And this is one of those times. Oh, hey, sign this loan, insure my credit card. Like, no. If you have a hard time saying no, this is what you do. You have to pause. Because your brain can only hold on to emotions for so long. So if you're someone who has to always say yes, you pause for like 20 seconds, and then your brain will reset, and then you can say, thank you, but no thank you. One who loves to offend loves strife. One who builds a high threshold invites injury. I'll be right back. Okay, so the threshold is a door. Oh my God. That's so interesting. I didn't think about that. So in the time of Moses, they put blood on the doorway, right? The threshold. So it's this and that. They did it on the top and on the side. And so that's also the cross. And then what does Jesus say? I am the way to heaven. I am the door to heaven. No one gets through except through me. So things are tied up together. So it's saying, so a high threshold, so like a really big door. Don't be cocky, don't be overconfident, don't be so prideful. Be careful of how prideful you're getting. You're just inviting problems. There was this content creator, was it Neon? Someone. And he would wear a $300,000 necklace. And then he was streaming one day and a van just ran up, jacked it, took off. Chapter 17, verse 20. One with a twisted mind will not succeed, and one with deceitful speech will fall into ruin. So, once again, right, we're learning the kung fu, the martial arts of the Bible, so we can live an exceptional life. Yeah, twisted mind for sure. Deceitful speech. So yeah, because remember that speech is the exportation of yourself, of your soul. God created the universe by speaking. Jesus is the Word of God made physical. A man fathers a fool to his own sorrow. The father of a fool has no joy. Yeah, we've seen that, right? You've seen these fathers who gave their kids everything, and then their kid is now ruining it. He's spending a ton of money. He's wasting his time. Like, I've known so many people in college that parents were paying for everything, and they failed. And I was just so shocked. I was like, are you kidding me? They were paying your rent and your food and your books and your bills, and you couldn't be bothered to get good grades. Are you kidding me? I had a friend who was going to school for acting. You know your parents love you when they're letting you go to school for acting. And he failed out. And I had a friend who went for cooking, and she failed out. And I had a friend who went for engineering, and he failed out. And I looked at him, and I said, how? Because he was really smart, and he had a full ride. And he said, well, you know, parties. And I said, no, I don't know parties. You get up early, and you do your homework, and then you can go to a party. My friend, he said one time, he came home, he's like, all right, Josh, let's play some video games. And I said, oh. He said, what? Let's play some video games. I'm excited, man. Like, I'll make some food, let's play some games. And I said, I got homework. And he said, never mind. And I was like, you're a good friend. So this is a lesson. As a father, you want to make sure you teach your kid biblical philosophy so they don't become a fool. And as a son of a father, you want to not be a fool so you can give your parents joy. 22, a joyful heart is good medicine. I happen to like joy a lot. I learned that from Pollyanna. I liked the glad game. I liked joy. A joyful heart is good medicine. Call me Dr. Joy. But a broken spirit dries up the bones. Yeah, so when someone's spirit is broken, usually bringing them to Christ really helps. I had a friend who was not doing good. She had made suicidal comments, and I said, all right, we're going to go back to Jesus. And we started praying every day, and all of a sudden, everything's starting to turn around. And make sure I keep praying for her. A wicked person secretly takes a bribe to subvert the course of justice. Yeah, don't do that. It's wicked. Wisdom is the focus of the perceptive, right? Because we see how life moves and we want to move well through life. Wisdom is the focus of the perceptive, but a fool's eyes roam to the ends of the earth. Yeah. Yeah, there's wisdom and focus in the perceptive of someone who's godly. But if you're foolish, you're just moving on and on and on, never arriving anywhere, never getting anything, never focusing on anything. A foolish son, we're back to this again, is a grief of his father, and bitterness is the one who bore him. Ooh. So now we're warning the dad, be wary about bringing bitterness into your home. And if your spouse is bitter, make sure you are talking and praying with your spouse daily. Because usually when you pray with people, the things that they're unhappy with come out. I wish you would do more of this. Okay, well, let's pray about that. Let's talk about that. It is certainly not good to fine an innocent person, right? Because they were innocent. Or to beat a noble for his honesty. Yeah, so you want to make sure the law and criminality of your kingdom or how you run your family is righteous and uplifting. You want to make sure everything you're doing is on the up and up, proactively good. The one who has knowledge restrains his words, right? So you're careful. You try not to say stupid things. You try not to hurt people accidentally. You don't act like a fool. You don't say inappropriate things that you shouldn't. And the one who keeps a cool head is a person of understanding. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Person of understanding, right here. You are blessed for knowing me. Ha ha ha. Even a fool is considered wise when he keeps silent. Mm-hmm. Discerning when he seals his lips. So if you got nothing, just don't make it worse. It's like the baby step, like the first step. If you're trying not to be a fool, you just... That's the end of it. Oh, I have to do the thing. Give me a sec. Okay, what should we do? A kobold this time? A drag crushed, sounds like my goblin, with peace, than a house full of feasting with strife. I like strife. A prudent son will rule over a disgraceful son and share an inheritance among brothers. Should have stole it. A crucible for silver, which I stole, and a smelter for gold, which was too heavy, so I stole the gold. And the Lord is testers of heart. He must save them for later. A wicked person listens to malicious talk. A liar pays attention to a destructive tongue. Cool, must be a wizard. The one who mocks the poor insults his maker. They're bored and not kobolds, because we have your stuff. And the one who rejoices over calamity will not go unpunished. You gotta catch me. Grandchildren are the crown of the elderly. What kind of crown? And the pride of children is their fathers. Eloquent words are not appropriate on a fool's lips. How much worse are lies for a ruler? Don't know, don't care. A bribe seems like a magic stone to its owner. Wherever he turns, he succeeds because of magic. Whoever conceals an offense promotes love. Love. They're going to lay the egg. But whoever gossips about it separates friends, because they're going to fight. A rebuke cuts into a perceptive person more than 100 lashes into a fool. Yeah, don't mess with the priests. An evil person desires only rebellion. A cruel messenger will be sent against him. Better for a person to meet a bear robbed of her cubs, raise them as war mounts, than a fool in his foolishness. If anyone returns evil for good, evil will never depart from his house, which makes him ultimately powerful. To start a conflict is to release a flood. Now I know your magical secrets. Stop the dispute before it breaks out. No, I want the flood. Acquitting the guilty and condemning the just, both are detestable to the Lord. Why does a fool have money in his hand with no intention of buying wisdom? Because wisdom is expensive. A friend loves at all times because he's a bard, he's a poet, and he doesn't stop talking. And a brother is born for a difficult time. Unless it's twins and they're born at the same time. See, I'm smarter than the Bible. One who loves to offend loves strife. One who builds a high threshold invites injury. Yeah, because you can't hide your house. That's why you live in a cave. That's why you live underground. One with a twisted mind will not succeed, and one with deceitful speech will fall into ruin. Do you know who this guy is? Who is he? Deceitful speech. Why do I gotta be ruined? Because the Bible says so. A man fathers a fool to his own sorrow. The father of a fool has no joy because he stole your joy. A joyful heart, because what dragons do, wealth is ours. A joyful heart is good medicine, but a broken spirit dries up the bones. Will kill my enemies with this. A wicked person secretly takes a bribe to subvert the course of justice. Wisdom is the focus of the perceptive, but a fool's eyes roams to the end of the world. He has no treasure. A foolish son is grief to his father and bitterness to the one who bore him. It is certainly not good to find an innocent person to finance or to beat a nobility for his honesty. It is however okay to beat him for his money, for the hoard. The one who has knowledge restrains his words, and the one who keeps a cool head is a person of understanding. A person with a cool head is under the lake, and he's gonna die. Even a fool is considered wise when he keeps silent, discerning when he seals his lips. Dead men tell no tales. I love you guys.